Dude, speaking of penises, how did we find out that Chris...
I was just trying to show the randomness over here.
Find out that Chris was the only hoods in the group.
Oh, I know how.
How?
So this is my cousin who, no worries. Doesn't matter what you are. We don't care.
He was hooded.
If you're uncircumcised or not. So listen, my cousin, Chris, whose yes name is Chris Brown.
He didn't feel pain.
We were skating one day, skateboarding, and we were all like, you're dumb teenagers. We're like, let's go skate in our boxers in the front yard so the neighbors will think it's weird. And I remember Chris did like a backside board slide, and when he pulled out, it was kind of far away. Like he was like far away, and he was wearing like the old school 90s style boxers, and his weenie flopped out for like 1 second.
Like, what
I was not there. I was not there
His
for this
weenie
one.
flopped out for like a split second. So I was like, from far away, we're all like,
Describe it. Go ahead.
from far away, I was like, oh, and I kind of like made a joke, and I'm like, dang, bro, you're uncircumcised. And he was like, no, I'm not. Like, whatever. Like, obviously, I could tell, and I was like,
Oh my gosh, are you really putting this on here?
oh, yeah.
He didn't know.
So listen, no, but that's not how we found out. So like
Found out
a
what?
month later, he was at the house, and for fun, we didn't really like put him on the spot, but we just all like drew like 3 different wiener types on a piece of paper, and we're like,
Wiener type?
Point to your wiener.
Wait, what are the wiener types?
just like different styles and looks.
Bro, you could have like the banana. You know, like you could have.
You're on the hook.
The what? One's got a
That
hook,
was Sean.
one
It was
doesn't.
Sean.
Oh,
Okay,
banana.
Sean. That was Sean.
All right, okay.
So basically,
Freaking Sean.
Chris walks by, and like we just
I'll
casually
take
be
the
like,
cue and let it go. God.
we
Sorry.
casually walk when Chris is walking by, like not putting on the spot. We're like, oh, point to your wiener, like as a joke, and he like pointed to that one,
We're
the
like,
obvious
what?
anteater.
Jabba the Hutt.
Yeah, and we were like, and we just look at him, we're like, oh, Chris, and he's like, oh no! Oh, no. And then from that day forth, we always call him Skins to this day. That's his thing. Whenever we play basketball, all right,
He's
who's
so scared, bro.
poor Jude over there? He's
I
like,
realized my son's in this room, right?
sorry, Jude.
Do you remember the time that was it Josh or Chris?
That what?
My cousins, by the way.
Bread, but
That
like,
was Josh
they-
did that to
Okay,
Chris.
Chris was sleeping on the couch.
Let them
right?
hear it.
Like this, like a mummy. Just imagine like this.
Who is sleeping?
And
Chris.
My
right?
cousin.
And so he's laying down like this. So this is Chris laying down. And Josh is like, ooh, what's this guy's, right? We were farting on a pillow, throwing it on each other. That's what we did. We took Tabasco sauce and stuck it up Mona's nose, too. You can never forget me. But he was like, I'm going to fart in his face. And we're like,
Yeah.
no, don't do it. Don't do it, right? Because Chris was asleep. Remember this?
Yeah, I remember he
dropped
slept in the
drawers.
Never mind.
Pulled down his pants, turned around. I'm going to do it for you. Spread. No, like the nose
Yes.
was in there. And when he let it rip, you could see it. It was like, and it left brown on his nose. And do you remember Josh's scream? Chris's scream? It was like
Did you
Home
remember that
Alone.
Chris slept
It was
in the
Home Alone, and the
shower?
guy had a spider in his face. That's what it was.
Dude, he slept in
was
the
so bad.
shower. Remember?
He cried. He actually cried, and he didn't want us to see it, but he cried. And I don't blame him.
So one time we were in his cul-de-sac, and we were all out front, and his neighbor, who he thought was cool at the time, he kept trying to hang out with him. Do you remember this? Where he was like wearing pants?
100% short.
Okay. Sorry, I'm a bad storyteller. But he basically was out there talking to the guy, kind of his hands in his pockets, and he's like, "What's up, man?" And he just like kind of moved his leg, and something rolled out of his leg.
Oh, I remember that. It was a turd.
Yeah,
It was a turd.
And the guy
I
was
remember.
Like, is that?
Dude, you have no idea. No idea. And do you remember we thought Chris couldn't feel pain?
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
We used to ask him to jump off of the roof.
Yeah.
Can I say that? Sorry.
No,
He would
definitely
jump
not.
off the roof. Oh, I said the F word. But he jumped off the roof and he wouldn't feel any pain. We'd like run up and punch him until he knocked out, and he would just
I always
be fine.
say that he had
I
like skinhead
guarantee you-
It had
blood.
to be. It had to be something like
Yeah,
that.
When he fell
skinhead
on his
blood.
head after biking.
Yep.
Yeah, he just landed on his
He
head and
didn't
got
feel
up.
Did I tell a story about the hanger?
Nope.
Yeah.
You didn't tell it yet.
Oh, I never told the hanger story. All right, I don't know if you've told you this one. Ricky's old house, he had this big open like shower, like one of those glass ones where it's like,
The house with the chandelier thing in the center?
yeah,
I remember the house.
Ricky
Yeah.
had this big old open shower, and I don't have no idea why, but one day
That was a nice
Chris
house.
was in there. Chris was in there showering, and I was like, dude, I'm gonna get Chris. And Ricky's like, what are you gonna do? I'm like, give me a hanger, like a plastic hanger. And he's like, what do you do? I'm like, dude, I'm gonna go whack Chris in the nuts while he's in the shower. So this is even better. So I walk in there, and I just kicked it open, like die mother, and I just opened the door. And Chris, I mean, what do you do if you're butt naked and someone walks in the hanger? You're gonna cover up and turn around. So he turned around and I just like whipped and I whipped the hanger up and I whipped the hanger up and it perfectly like fish hooked yoink into his butthole. It like the perfect catch in his freaking sphincter, and I start pulling him, backing out, and it's dragging him out his ball going oh while he's going backwards trying to hold it.
You zoom on that
It
face.
was at that moment he knew he was into men.
It was that day was that was probably my favorite day. What did this podcast turn into?
I don't know. What are you talking about? What was the purpose? What was the purpose of this?
I don't know. It doesn't matter.
This is the quickest I'll ever be in trouble with the internet.
This is why you've never
don't even remember.
had us on. Now you know why we haven't been on your show.
We've done some really stupid stuff.
I thought it was gonna be like, how surreal is it for him to have his game room?
No, it's not going to be any crying.
Oh, that's
There's
right.
not going to be
Video
any.
games.
This game's here?
Do you remember the time I almost killed you?
The time I almost killed him?
And
Oh dang! Which
We
one?
both have one.
let's tell the
He went to the
story.
hospital. It actually took.
Tell the story
The
about the rock.
Oh, we were in the backyard. This is like, I forget how old you were. Sorry, we were in the backyard, and you were helping me load. We made like a catapult, right? Essentially, because
Yes,
in our
we made
backyard.
siege weaponry in our giant backyard.
Have you
'cause
talked
that is
about-
normal?
Yeah, have you talked about
Completely
Dad being a
normal.
hoarder back in the days?
Nope.
He's not now. No.
Nope.
Should I not touch that?
You can totally.
So we lived in a house. So, okay, let's backpedal here because this is ADHD heaven here.
Yeah.
There was a time when my dad worked for, I can't remember the name of them are, but they owned one of the Ace Hardware stores in Santa Ana, and Dad did some work for them. Do you remember this?
Yes,
How
I
we
worked
got
at
that
that
house?
gray house.
Okay, so we-
two-story,
so-
banana board.
Yeah,
front
so
yard.
Dad like
I remember
had
all
the
of it.
house lifted up, and they made it into like a 2-story house by
Yep.
raising the thing. So this one time, Dad was in there, and I can't remember the name of the people, but they owned that Ace Hardware, and somebody was in the store, and they looked like they were going to steal something, and Dad
Yeah.
took notice, and I remember at one point, Dad just started running. Well,
Yep.
what I didn't catch was the guy stole something, and they don't have security. They
Mm-hmm.
just took off with it, and Dad literally just like chased him down, tackled
Yeah.
the guy, took the
Yep.
thing back, came
Very
back, and
Dad.
was like, "Hey, can I do anything for you?" And at that point, like we didn't really know what was going to happen. Again, we were poor. I don't remember what the situation was, but we didn't really have anywhere we were going to go live.
Right.
So he let us rent that house, which was on Lilac. And that house was like a horse property that they just sort of let go, right? It had no floors. We slept on the floor the first night there. I don't remember if you guys were even there at that
Yeah.
point. I don't remember if you slept there with me, but me and Dad slept on
Yeah.
the floor in the garage. A big old potato bug crawled up my leg that first night.
Dude, those things were all over.
They're terrible.
we would
They're
cook 'em.
Jerusalem crickets.
They're horrible.
We'd cook them.
Yeah.
We would, or pop the,
Yeah, we did.
or pop the tail thing,
and they would go.
Yep.
right, and then
It was
see if they
messed
would
up.
like live. I still have a scar from a bike thing that you did there too, Adam. Anyway, but what were we talking about?
Getting to the point of the catapult.
Catapult.
So my dad collected a bunch of stuff because he was a handyman, right? Anything left from a job, my dad wouldn't throw away nails. Our dad,
Still doesn't.
We had
Not your dad.
1,000 things in the backyard to mess up
Yes.
and make guns out of.
So we're like, let's make a catapult. Let's get somebody throwing up here, right? We're gonna fly. And so we put these huge rocks, and I mean, I don't remember how old we were. I was probably 10, maybe 12, something
Roughly.
like that. And we
So
lifted
I was
boulders.
probably around 6. I think I was 6, so you must have been 11.
Oh, it was horrible. We put 2x6s, right? And this was a catapult that like would have shot a full-grown adult.
Yeah.
Would have shot you in the air.
You were on
So
the
we're
ladder.
loading things, and I'm like,
6 foot ladder.
I'm like, Adam, don't, just
Oh, this is your version,
help me,
sir.
right? And I carry the
This is your
this is my
version.
filtered version, and I'm carrying this huge boulder,
Boulder.
and I put it. It was a boulder.
Boulder.
It was big. I was a pretty tough kid.
Sharp, heavy, jagged boulder.
And I put it on one end,
I called
right,
them fire pit
Adam's
rocks.
helping me load
We were
rocks,
using them for
right?
a fire pit.
and we load the rock, and I'm thinking I'm walking over to the other side, and I'm gonna lay the other one down on the other side of the catapult just to throw that one rock up in the air, right? And Adam was just right there. He's shaking his head, and I dropped the rock, and I don't remember. I remember at the time I didn't understand what had happened, but like when I looked over as I dropped it, it was already going down. Adam was looking down with his face over this boulder that I
To the
put
launch
down,
boulder.
to the launch side, and it just came right up and hit him in the face.
Yep.
Mate, I was loading.
Dad was a very tough man, but I have never seen him run like that. He flew.
I remember standing
over to
there
me.
just bleeding and standing up still kind of like not knowing what's happening.
I thought
mean,
he died.
It was
Dude,
supposed
I
to be.
felt like I died. But
The doctor said 2 more inches, and he would not have. There would have been. no
Yeah,
chance.
2 inches
He would
away from
just kill him.
death.
dude, my version of that story, everything was great up until
All right, I gotta
you were
go.
Dang, I was loading up the boulder. No, I screamed out to you, I'm loading another boulder. And you're like looking at me and just kind of like
I don't remember that. I really don't remember that.
You totally just put it
I
down
have weighed
and I
the
told
guilt
you.
for years. I really don't remember.
Have
I really
some
don't.
more. Just kidding.
But I remember you being at the hospital, and I was so worried. And then when Dad and Mom
6
came home,
doctors.
like Dad, you know, I've only honestly to this day, I think I've seen Dad cry 3 times.
Yeah.
The day his dad died, the day we can talk about that later if you want to, but the day that Dad like pushed, he just like moved Mom out of the way. And I don't think you were there, but do you remember?
Uh-huh.
We tackled Dad.
Oh,
Yeah,
I
I
was
remember
there.
for it.
Oh, I
And-
was
and-
there.
and-
I remember the fridge.
Yeah, and if you haven't,
We were all by the fridge.
Yep.
And if you haven't seen, and for them,
Dang,
like,
it's crazy how
Dad
these
was
things stick with you.
Dad was a tough guy. Like he'd crush you. He'd put your skull here, and
Dad was definitely the definition of a tough
man.
Texas cowboy
Yes.
man.
He could have killed us without any thought.
For sure.
But he broke down crying because it was the first time I think that we had betrayed him. Because Dad was, I mean, again, you know,
Yeah, I
everybody
remember that.
Everybody has a life.
Dang,
Dad's
you're
had his own
digging
things.
deep.
But Dad was, I mean, he was good to us, right? Like he was
Always.
always good to
Always.
us. 100%. Every time I'm side chanting here, but always Dad's worst thing was I just don't want my family to fight because of all the history with his parents, right?
Yeah.
With his family. So, I don't even know where I was going with that. Cut ADHD.
The catapult.
You
It's
were
all
just
good.
telling a Catapult story, and then you moved on.
But like he cried that day, and I remember realizing
Yeah.
at that moment because I'd never really seen, you know, like what,
Yeah.
you know, like how serious it was that he was hurt.
Yeah, he was pretty
And
upset.
he said it took 5 or 6
Six
doctors
doctors.
to hold you down
because I
and
was
you were young.
freaking the heck
But-
out. But I was just going crazy.
Yeah.
Like, I'd never gotten shots like that. They kept giving me shot after shot after shot after shot, and they're like, "He's not going down. We
Yeah.
can't get him out." And they were freaking out, and they're like, "We're just gonna operate." And I heard that as a kid.
Yeah.
I'm like staring at the doctors outside, going, "Don't cut it off. Just gonna operate." I was so freaked out that even after I went out, after all those shots, I woke up in the middle of surgery.
Yeah, I remember.
And I saw just like a little thing above my head. I don't know what they were doing, probably stitching me up or
Scalpel.
something. And I'm like,
And you saw the scar to this day.
I still have a
on your
scar.
eyebrow.
And
Right
then it
right
came
here.
back in fashion. Remember when everybody was cutting their
Oh,
eyebrows?
yeah, I forgot about
And I'm
it.
like,
See, I
check
did
it
you a
out, me
favor.
too, bro.
Check out my fashion scar.
Yeah.
I remember being in the house or like walking outside, kind of like in the middle of being with you guys and not with you guys when that happened. And I remember just being like, whoa, this is serious.
Dude, so another one, I'm not a storyteller, but basically, long story short, me and Aaron and Nathan were always screwing around in the
I
backyard.
already knew where we were going with this.
Is this the roof?
Do you know about the roof? Nathan, you knew about the roof? You weren't there, though.
I can tell the roof.
Dad fell through, or are you talking about the one?
No, not the one with Dad fell through. The one
I know
with
Dad
Aaron.
fell through the shed.
So we were screwing around, and I cannot believe that I did this. Like, I did something horrible. I freaking was chucking things at him. He was throwing things at me or something. And
I was on a roof though.
He was on a roof.
You were on the ground.
And I don't think I got mad, but I definitely threw something with some
A
weight
rock.
behind
You
it.
threw a rock.
Yeah, and I freaking threw it at you, and he fell off the roof and landed on his freaking head.
On a piece of wood.
On a piece of wood. And I'm like, why are you laughing? Process at the time. I'm like, you know, and then I'm like, oh, I think he might be dead.
I did not know
Dude.
that.
And that's probably one of the only times I've ever seen Mom act a particular way towards me.
cannot
I
believe
think
I
she
did
thought
that.
I was gonna be like handicapped for the rest of my life because
You
have to
are.
imagine. Yeah, she wasn't wrong. Is that what happened? Yeah, I'm walking on this roof, and from my perspective, I remember even seeing our next door neighbor girl on the other side, kind of watching.
Yeah.
like what is going on? Because I'm on the roof, and I remember
Dude, that's
seeing
like the
Ivy.
good son type stuff. I'm sorry.
No, yeah. Well, we all
Dang.
did stupid stuff, but I remember just being up there and like you threw something and I missed and you missed. But then I remember I was like standing by the edge, and then finally you threw like a big rock at me, and it like hit me in a way to where like I went like whoa, and I lost my footing, and I just
Were we even like laughing and playing, or were we pissed? Which one?
well a lot of
I
times
don't remember that.
laughing and playing it typically turns into piss, right? Because
Because we
someone
always had dirt clod fights.
dirt clod fights was
always.
huge in our life.
For people that don't know, essentially we're just chucking rocks at each other with fatigues on,
Yeah.
army fatigues. We would dig like 6-foot trenches, get like flashlights made out of PVC, and
Yep.
yeah, we would just make all kinds of weaponry.
Like I said, hoarder.
Yeah, we were nuts. Like we were just crazy backyard kids, and you know we would throw dirt clods at each other behind forts. We'd make forts and run around from point A to point B and go.
When that one hit me, though, I remember like falling backwards, and it's so weird.
Dude, how
I
was it for
literally
you? Yeah.
remember the impact.
You do?
Like I remember how I land. I mean, it almost like imagine standing on a roof and watching Jackass, and they're like, jump off the roof, put your hands like this, and land on your head. That's how
You
I
could've-
landed.
I don't know how you're like not
Like on my head, on
Messed
a
up.
piece of
Yes.
wood.
dude.
And I just remember going
That's
straight to
crazy.
the bathtub with mom, and she like laid me in there, and she's like, all right, the hospital. And I just remember her like treating me in a way where like not even like babying me or whatever it was, but I just remember like this isn't how mom has ever acted around me.
Right.
But that was part of our, like you said, our childhood. We were, by all means, the definition. I'm sure many other kids out there have the same stories who grew up around our age, where it's like there was no holds barred with safety.
Safety, yeah.
There is,
Which is crazy because I'm a safety
none.
nerd
It's
now.
the 90s, bro.
Totally
you have
big
no
on
idea.
it.
I got the pleasure of being Lucas and Violet's uncle and watching them
kids.
for a whole hour today without Adam anywhere nearby.
the first time.
That's never happened before.
That's
never.
Adam's kids,
And
by the
I
way.
live 4 houses down.
And 7.
I don't get to do that.
Yeah, maybe
But
it's because I've seen all the BS that happened. Like Mona had stuff happen
Me?
to her. Aaron had stuff happen to him. You had stuff happen to you. All the time. I got chased by a group of like freaking what was it, like 12 or 13 soccer players one time.
Yep.
It was my birthday. And I beat one of them off with a freaking bat, and I ran
beat it off
away.
with a
Like, dude, it's crazy stuff.
Dude, I was like, okay.
What did you do?
you beat it off with a bat.
I didn't catch that.
And what's funny though is if you think about all these things that we say and all these crazy, because this is nothing.
Dude, we had some gnarly stuff happen to us.
But we would
I
all-
almost got abducted one day.
Would anybody disagree? What an amazing time to be
The
alive.
best.
That literally our kids are never gonna know. And it sounds so stupid to them because I'm sure it's like
At least they don't have to deal with that BS.
It goes by so fast. When people say that now,
Yeah.
but the time of being alive back then, the freedom that you have that he will never know.
We
But do
also
you
have
want them to have to do that?
I don't know, but he does fun.
But
stuff.
listen,
I will create the backyards.
we were the last generation in history. Which Nathan's normally not right. We are literally the last generation in history
Of real
that went
men.
through our childhood without social media.
Yep.
We're the last generation in history to do that, and it will never be the same.
It'll never be the same freedom again.
It'll never be you in the moment throwing rocks at me because that was fun to do without someone being like, "Oh, let's film that." Let's get. There
crazy.
was none of that.
Hey, I've been to China
As we're
and I
being
can tell you what it
filmed,
looks
we
like
can
to
say
walk
that.
down the street and watching the things turn as you're walking, like just watching you. And we're not there.
Yeah,
in
yeah.
Society by any means, but we're doing it willingly.
You talking
like
about
this,
Orwellian, like
and having our location on.
1984?
What?
Are you talking about Orwellian, like 1984, like super
Yeah.
I
surveillance? Yeah.
I saw
100%.
someone with a banner of that on their house today. Said, "Make Orwell fiction again." I was like,
Good.
Oh wow.
It's true.
But
Yeah.
what a time to be alive.
We're definitely, we have cameras all over the place. There's satellite imagery, but it doesn't, honestly, it doesn't bother me much.
But you do give up for that. You may not realize the small sacrifices and the small things that you're giving away, but even just where you are, so that they know how to market to you. Like my location on my phone isn't everywhere.
Oh, yeah.
But
Same.
they know, like if I'm, like they know that I'm in.
What I'm saying is it
California
doesn't
now because
bother-
I'm suddenly getting triangle, square, whatever it's called. now.
Ads.
But it
Yeah,
doesn't
and I'm
bother
like,
me to to the point
Oh,
where I
Oregon.
need to overlock my stuff down, because I'm like, if they want it, they're gonna look
true.
anyways. There's
It's
really no point.
But I'm not
even
gonna make it
trying
easy
at
for
that
'em.
point.
I'm
You
not.
might.
same.
Well, of course, but what I'm saying is mom, she'll delete everything on her phone constantly, and she's like, why doesn't my phone work? I'm like, because you turned everything off and
deleted
deleted
Windows.
everything. You used to
Operating
delete
system.
Windows.
I've done it.
Anytime anything with his computer would
done
be
it.
slow, delete
I can
Windows.
fix your car, but not yours.